Yeah, can you open that image? It is not opened yet, right?
Sir, it may take some time.
Okay, okay,
System
yeah,
is
sure.
slow.
Okay, okay, but actually the design looks really good. One small change is that
Thank you,
you
sir.
have covered the whole thing with the card. The card design was good, but then the card should be only for the that specific part, like where you are showing a brand. The card should only be covering that. Yeah, okay, okay. This image is stretched out in that page, right? Did you use cover background size cover in the CSS?
No, sir.
You
No,
can try
sir.
to use that. Yeah, write a style for it. Yeah, you can try it on your own. That's fine. You just need to apply background. Okay, this should, you have added the image here. Instead of doing that, uh, use it. Use a CSS property to add that image with the URL as a value, and then adjust its background size so that it would cover that whole size.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, but yeah, this is really good work. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Does someone else have done something that they wanted to show? And I think it's Charan, right, who asked access for the drive to upload the task. Is that correct? Okay. I think okay. Even Manoj also said, okay, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I have given access to Charan. I have also had a folder and give access to Manoj. I'll do that after this call. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to look into chat because I want you people to talk. There is no other way. So that's how it's going to work. If you don't talk, it's going to be your loss. Okay, let's start with where we left it yesterday. So we were talking about the basics of JS, and we were talking about the arithmetic operators and a few basic data types, and also how to create a variable and how to assign a value to it. That's what we were discussing yesterday, and we just touched upon a scope of a variable. There is much more to the scope part. We will come to that later. So today's agenda will be to cover. Today's agenda will be to cover some more things about variable naming and also some other naming conventions. Then we will see more about functions. Later, we will also see more about some operators. Like, I think assignment was the only operator which we showed right now. We'll see much more than that. let's get started. Yeah, this code is in the same place as we saw yesterday. Opening the terminal. Sorry, I'm opening the console. Yeah, I also wanted to tell you guys that you should get more familiar with using a terminal. So we will get there. We will also be using it, but I'm not sure how much extensively we will need that in this whole session. I mean, in this whole course, but you definitely need to know how to use a terminal and what are its capabilities. It's just going to give you all the access that you do through an interface. So you basically do everything from an interface. Instead of that, you should also get to know how to do these things using a terminal, like creating directories, creating files, moving, copying, all those things you need to get to know. I think, yeah, you will learn a few things when we are developing a React application after learning JS. That would come in, I think, after next week. So, okay, starting with the variable naming. Yesterday we saw that we can create variables in this way, where we will use a keyword called var and let or const depending upon the usage, and by this you create a variable, you assign a value to it, and you can use its value anywhere after its declaration or probably its initialization. So that's how a variable works. It is just used for storing a value. uh, yeah, now here we have actually returned the code inside a script tag, uh, but think that in our first week we were writing some HTML, right? And that code itself was around 100 lines. And if I write the script also in the same file, yeah, it's going to go way more than that. And if you include even the styles here, it's going to be around 300 to 500 lines of code, and it's going to be much more depending on the complexity. So it's always good. Yeah, it is the practice to create a folder called scripts, and yeah, inside that folder I'll have a file called main.js. So yeah, the script folder is next to the index.html file. I have a file called main.js, and inside this I can write this whole thing. I just left out the script tag there, copied the rest of the things inside it, and removing the script tag. Yeah, actually I need the script tag. I'll write it in a different way. So I'm saving this file. Now I'm saving this HTML2. Since it is in hot reload, you will be able to see that there will be nothing printed out in the console because we have removed all the script tag. Okay. So you can see there is nothing printed in the console. That's because there is no script anymore. Now we have to import it again. I'm typing script. So this tag has an attribute called source. Have an attribute called source, which is going to refer to the path of that file, which will now run in our HTML page. So I'll just refer to that file in this way, and when I close the tag and save it, yeah, now you'll be able to see that the code which we have written in this file is now being executed. We've just moved that whole code into a different file with an extension called .js. Yeah, that's how you create and import a file. And also this is similar to CSS. We saw that in CSS, if you have multiple files, the order in which you are actually importing a file matters. In same way, uh, here, if we had another file, let's say, say this file, So yeah, I'm going to call that file here. And once I save it, you can see that it is printed on the last. If I try to switch it to the top, this now the test.js file is on the top, and when I save it, yeah, it's going to print it in the first line because that file is now executed first. So everything, this is called parsing. So what happens is the browser takes this whole piece of code and just runs every line uh, in the order. So that's how this execution works. So it always matters how, in which order you specify the files. Yeah. Now let's get into. I'll use that new file. I'm going to call this as variables.js, and I'm just going to rename this file into variables.js. And yeah, that error is gone now. So in this file, we'll be talking more about variables. First, I'll be talking about variable naming. So basically, the variables which we create should follow a strict naming convention, which means you cannot add anything that you want as a variable name. It should follow certain things. Like a variable name cannot start with a number. It should always start with a character, as an alphabet, or underscore, okay, or an underscore, or a dollar sign. So those are the only allowed characters when you are naming a variable. So let me show here. So you can start with a dollar, or you can start with a character, or you can start with an underscore variable and some value. I'm saving it. So I'm just logging that variable, underscore variable. You can see that its value is being printed down here. I'm just referring to this variable. So you can see the difference, right? This is a string. So it's actually, people call it a string literal because you are literally referring to something here. So, but so when I was showing you the examples of string, I actually used to type it like this. Now this, when you enclose it in a double quote, it's actually a string. If I save it, you will be seeing that it says underscore variable. But when you try to refer it without any quote, it's now a variable. It will assume that it is a variable and it will search for that variable. So let me add the name wrongly, and you will be able to see that, yeah, it says that the variable is not defined because whenever there is something without double quote, it's going to check for a variable, and we did not find one with this wrong name. Yeah, so you can create a variable like this, and also the dollar, and also, yeah, simply like the name what we created yesterday. So and the variable. So now if I print this value down and underscore, yeah, you'll be able to see that here. It has no problem. And you can also have, yesterday, I think even in yesterday's example, you saw that I was using numbers here. So you can use any number variable to saving it. So yeah, it works fine. You should remember it cannot start with a number. Cannot start it like this. It already throws an error. Save it. You will be also seeing an error in this file, in this console. Yeah, you can see an identifier or a keyword cannot immediately follow a numeric literal. So you cannot create a variable which starts with a number. But yeah, you can use the underscore and dollar anywhere in between two. We can type anything like this. Yeah, it's going to work. It does not have any problem. But yeah, as I said yesterday, you have to have your names, variable names, more in a more meaningful way. Yeah, I think this is all about how to name a variable. Now let's get into some more naming conventions. So naming conventions is like a rule, set of rules which were laid out so that it will be easy for anyone else who is viewing the code. It is going to help them to understand what the specific code is doing. For example, we saw a lot of things, right? Yesterday we saw that there is a function, there's a variable, and we also have something called as classes. But how do you like differentiate them from one another? Although variables and functions, it's not so much different, except that by using a code editor like this, you will be able to see the difference very clearly. We also have, I didn't tell much about VS Code. It has a lot of functionalities. Let me show one of them right now. Where, yeah, first we will see the open editors. This is the Explorer menu. When I click that, you will see the open editors. So these are the editors that are open here, and this is the whole file explorer, where the folder which you are in, it's going to show all the files in that folder. I'm collapsing these two, and outline is where you will be able to see what are the variables declared in this file. So you can have a bunch of variables here, but you will be able to see all those variables inside this outline, and even the functions. Now let me show for outline. I'm just adding these commands so that you'll be able to see what's underneath, what's going to be written underneath. Yeah, I'm just writing a sample function, and you can see function is represented in a different way. Although a function does not have a different naming convention from variable, but this is how you will identify that it is a function. When I hover on it, you will see that it says it's a function. So this is going to help you to code properly. And also the way in which you write the function names will differ from a variable name. Although the convention is different, but the meaning that it's going to give out is going to be different from a variable. So I want you guys to remember this. So classes, we have different types of cases. I think you might have heard of camel case. Camel case is where you'll have multiple words in conjunction. Let's say, so yeah, let's say this is the first variable. So if I say it's the first variable, the variable is going to be written as first, which will start with a small letter, which is a lowercase letter, and then the next word, which is going to be appended to this, is going to contain a capital letter, which is uppercase. So first variable is going to be the variable name, first variable. This is how you should name your variables. It should follow this specific convention, where this is called as the camel case. And the same thing is also followed for functions. Function, let's say, do something. So this function is also going to follow the same pattern as a camel case. We have something called as classes. Have something called as classes. for a class, it is going to be a Pascal case. So in Pascal, the only different in Pascal cases, all the words are going to have their first letter in capital. So let's say class with, let's say user manager. So this is a class, and this class is written in Pascal case. So you can see the difference, right? This is how you will write a class, and this is how you will write a function and a variable. So this naming difference is going to let you identify whether something which is written as a class or a variable, and yeah, it could be a function too. So these are the conventions which you should follow. So if you don't follow, yeah, it's not going to break your code. Yeah, but people won't like it. Saving it, I think it's because of this. Yeah, closing this. Yeah, I'm jumping into the. Okay. Do you have any question as of now?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, can you explain camel case once?
Yeah, sure. So camel case is where you have a variable having multiple words, but only the first words, first letter will be in lowercase. So you can see that all these cases, it's like how you will type in a sentence, except that all the words are going to start with the uppercase. Let's say this sentence. So this is actually a sentence case. We have different cases. I think there is a package that you will need. I use this regularly. I'm just trying to show you what are the different cases we have. We have a bunch of them. Yeah, we have so many cases. Yeah, here you can see it, right? So it's actually written in the case which it is referring to. So the text camel case is written in camel case, and the text Pascal case is written in Pascal case. So only difference between camel case and Pascal cases, camel cases have multiple words joined together, and all the words will have the first letter in uppercase except for the first word. And for Pascal case, all the words first letter is going to be in uppercase. That's the difference. Yeah, we have a bunch of cases like this. We have this capital case which is going to have spaces, but this is not for variables. Yeah, I also did not mention it here. Variables cannot have spaces in between them. I think that is understood because I told only the characters which are allowed are alphabets, underscore, dollar, and yeah, dollar and numbers. Yeah, so you cannot have spaces in between them. You should always have. You should always, when you follow a pattern like this, you actually don't need space. So I'm just showing you these are different cases. In Python, we will be using something called a snake case. So this is how Python variables will look like. But in JavaScript, you will be using a camel case. So it's basically only the first word, first letter is going to be small. Rest of the words will have the first letter as capital. That's what camel case is. Did that answer the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. I also forgot to tell about this constant case. So this is also one of the cases where you will name a variable, but whose value is going to be a constant. So constants mean, I think we saw something similar yesterday, where we have a variable and we won't be able to change its value. Like let's say we have value of pi, right? that we would declare as a constant. So pi's value should be a constant. In that case, you will be writing it in caps, all caps. I will write it as pi and the value 3.14, like this. Yeah, this is how you will write a pi because it is a constant. It's not going to change in time. So this is how you will declare constant. I'm not talking about constant because of this keyword called constant. I'm talking about values which are going to be constant throughout, like they are the truth values. They won't be changing. That's something about variable naming. Okay. Yeah. The next thing to talk about is the assignment operators. We saw yesterday that we have assignment operators today, but instead we were just writing the values directly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called a, which is having a value of 10, and you can create multiple variables in a single line by using a comma. So if I put comma, then I can type b equal to 20. Yeah, now I can create multiple variables in this way, or I can create them in separate lines, like call it as c. Yeah, I can also create it like this. So now I have two variables. You can perform the same arithmetic operations which you did using the literal values, which is these numbers, by using the variables now. So let's say console.log, you can type a plus b and just a plus b. I think I've saved it. Now you can see that a plus b is being printed out. So you can use the variables depending on the value that they have in a way where you can make computations. So if it's a number, you can just treat those variables as a number itself. So because they are just the holders of numbers in this case, and yeah, I can perform any operation with those two variables itself. I can also do not just a plus b. You can have into c divided by d. You can do anything. It's not limited to a certain operation. So yeah, when I do that, we get this output. So yesterday we saw that equal to as an assignment operator, where it takes a value on right and puts it on a variable on the left. So that's a straightforward thing. There are more assignment operators where you will be able to do just uh, much more than assigning directly. So let me create. We won't be able to do that here because we are trying to we will be trying to reassign the value here. Let e, and I have 10, and e I'm going to add 10 more values. So e is initialized as 10, but for some reason I'm going to add 10 more values to e. So how I would do in the direct way is e equal to e plus 10. So now what happens is we are taking the e value itself, which is 10, and we are adding it to 10 and again assigning that whole value to e itself. So as I told you, in assignment case, uh, the operation works from right to left, where the things are computed on the right and then it is going to be assigned on the variable in the left. So that's how assignment works. So now what happens is this e is going to be, when I replace these variables here, so e would be same as e because it's a variable, but here we are using it for computation. Since this is the one that is taking the assignment, it does not be referred as a value, but here it is going to be referred as a value. Here this statement is now equal. The statement is now equivalent to 10. I hope you get that. Yeah, the statement is now equivalent to this because this e is going to be replaced by 10. So let me just add this in. So I'm locking it. E. Save it. Yeah, we can see that we see the 20 here. I'm just commenting these two lines and saving it. More I want to do. Statements. Save it. I'm going back here. We only see the e here. So what happened is, yeah, you can clearly see that this variable called e is now replaced with a newer value, which is computed using the e itself. Now e 10 plus 10 gives us 20, which is now saved in e. Now I'm going, so I can shorten this by using an assignment operator called plus equals, and you can say 10. So now what it does is plus equals means use this same variable itself and add the value on its right. So these two statements are equal, just that they are written in different ways. Yeah, these two are equal, yeah, but they are written in different ways. So when I print it out, now you'll be able to see that the value is 30 because this does the same thing as this line. It's going to add 10 more to that variable. It is not only restricted to addition. You can do e minus 10 equal to 10. Now you can see that the value is now reduced to 20 because after these two summations the value went to 30, but when I did minus 10 it went back to 20. In same way you can do multiplication. I think we have 20, right? I'll put 5, it will get 200, and I can do division as well. I'll divide it by 2, so we'll get 50. Yeah. I hope you can see what's happening here. We are just using that same variable and adding things after performing an arithmetic operation with that variable itself and assigning the same to that variable. So that's what we are doing here. So these are the assignment operators that we have, and yeah, let's move to the next set of operators. We call it as conditional operators. So yeah, I bet you understand what are conditional operators. Conditional operators are used to compare two values, like greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to. So these are like the conditional operations which you would be needing. So to perform that operation we will use, so this is, yeah, obviously the greater than symbol. Let me type console.log, and yeah, haven't used any value yet. Here we can see that a is 10 and b is 20. So I'm going to type a greater than b. So yeah, a is 10 and b is 20. A is definitely not greater than b. So when I save it, I'm just going to comment these two logs too. Now you can see the resultant of this expression is false because now what happened is this is evaluated as 10 is greater than 20. Yeah, that's what happened here. 10 is greater than 20. That is what this expression means. So it checked if that is greater, uh, since it was not greater than uh, 20, it throws us a value called false. I can show. I'm doing the same thing with the lesser than symbol. Saving it, yeah, you can see it says true because now 10 is less than 20, which is a correct expression. You can also do it with, there are situations where you would need to compare whether the value is equal to or less than. So you would be doing that using less than. So always the less than or greater than part will come in the first and the equal to will come at second. So this is how you would write it: a less than or equal to b. But in our case it's just less than b, so it works. Let's say I have b here. So here on the left or right we have two operands. These two operands can be a variable or it can be a literal value. Now I'm going to type a literal value here, so which is 20, just to show the case where we will see 20 is less than or equal to b, which is true, right? So because it is having a equal to, if I change the same expression as less than, it's going to say false, because yeah, it is 20 is not less than 20. So these are just basic operations which you can do. And the most straightforward one is we have something called as double equals. Do not confuse it with regular equal to. So this is an assignment operator. It is used for assigning values to a variable. But this is a conditional operator where it's going to check the equality of two values. So we have, yeah, we have 10 will type a equals to b. Saving it, it says false because a is not equal to b. A is 10 and b is 20. Whereas, I think we had other variables. So we have c is 10 and a is 10.
Just a minute, Vasanth.
Yeah.
Meeting will end in 5 minutes. Once it is ended, please join the same meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. So here I'm going to use a and c instead because they both are having the same values. I'm going to compare 10 with 10, and when I save it, you'll be able to see that a equal to c is true because yeah, it is equal to c. See it here. And if you want to check something is not equal to c, how you do that is by using an exclamation mark. So exclamation means not. So when you read it, you just read a equals to c. So, or a, so 20 less than b. In same way, you can read a not equal to c, which is going to throw false because a is actually equal to c, but we are trying to evaluate it as not equal to. So we get it as false. Yeah, that works. Correct. So yeah, I think these covered up. So here we saw less than equal to. In same way, you can do greater than equal to. You can say 10 greater than equal to. Greater than equal to. Now it's going to say true because 20 is actually equal to. Then even if it fails the greater than part, it actually satisfies the equal to part. So the result would be true. So we have these Boolean values. So whenever you need to make some validations, you'd always be needing a result in a Boolean form, whether it is a true or not. Let's say if you have a form, you entered some value, but that value is not proper. We also had a required attribute, right? When you added a required to that specific tag, what it says is this form is not valid because it does not comply with the given input type. Maybe you have not entered a proper email. So that is a kind of validation where it failed. So basically, something returned false in there. So that is about the conditional statement. So conditional operators. Now let's move to conditional statements. These are, yeah, straightforward things where you'll have something called as a if and else. So if is just a conditional statement where you throw in an expression here. So inside we open it like a function, and yeah, so this is a block which we are creating, and we are going to throw in an expression here. If this expression that we are putting inside this if evaluates to true, only then this block will be executed. I hope you're getting that. And also I'm writing something called as else. So this else should be only